we're a water planet. No water, no photosynthesis. No water, no net primary production. Without water, we don't have life.
안녕하세요. 만나 뵙게 돼서 반갑습니다. 그동안 어떻게 지내셨어요?
I've been fine, and let me say it's always a pleasure to be with all my friends in Korea, and I'm doing fine.
당시에 그 고용 없는 성장에 대해서 말씀을 해주셨었는데요. 당시 영상 잠깐 보고 또 저희 대화 나눠보겠습니다.
암호를 해야 될 것은 여러분의 보고서에도 나와 있다시피 장기적으로 고용을 창출할 수 있는 부분은 사회적 자본, 시장 자본이 아닌 사회적 자본을 창출할 수 있는 곳일 것입니다. EU 선진국의 40% 이상의 일자리가 이 부문에 새로이 창출됐습니다.
어떻게 보면 지금 저희가 많이 고민하고 있는 돌봄과 관련된 일자리 얘기를 해주셨던 거 아닌가라는 생각도 듭니다. 혹시 지금 좀 다르게 조언을 해주실 게 있으실지 궁금합니다.
That there has been a handful of great economic paradigm shifts in history. Number one, new communication revolutions. Number two, new sources of energy. Number three, new modes of mobility and logistics. Number four, and this is the critical one, new ways to manage the waters of the planet. These new technologies have been, constantly eliminating labor. But what we're beginning to see here is that if you know the way an infrastructure is designed, it tells you the kind of results it's going to have for society. So we are now on the cusp of this third industrial revolution, and it's actually engineered to be distributed, not centralized. Why? And we're heading to a more distributed world where some of the big companies will be aggregators, and there'll be a huge amount of very high-tech SMEs. And employment will be more local.
최근 새 책 플래닛 아쿠아가 바로 이번 주에 출간이 됐는데요. 축하드립니다.
And this is a completely new approach to the history of our species over the millennia of history, and where we are now and where we need to go in order to hopefully flourish once again on a rewilding, climate-changing planet. We've long believed that we are a land planet. No, we are a water planet, and that is the big mistake. We call it the blue marble. It's so beautiful. That photo showed we're a blue planet. Everything on this planet is about water. No water, no soil. No plants, no trees. No water, no atmosphere. No water, no biosphere. Water, and water is the premier sphere because it determines all the rest, whether it's your electricity or your agriculture, your industry.
우리가 녹색의 그 대지에서 산다고 생각했는데 사실은 물의 행성에 살고 있다라는 개념이 되게 흥미롭습니다.
We're beginning to understand that climate change is affecting the hydrosphere, the waters. And that is, for every 1 degree Celsius, the planet's heating up from the emission of those fossil fuels into the atmosphere is sucking up 7% more precipitation because the heat is forcing evaporation of water. And it's evaporating from the oceans, from the plants, from the soil, into the clouds. Blockbuster snows in places that never snowed. In the spring, flooding across every continent, destroying ecosystems, agriculture, industry, our neighborhoods. Then in the summer, we get the heat waves, the wildfires. We get the hurricanes and typhoons. This is not going away. All the underground infrastructure is collapsing because the groundwater has been taken out and now the soil's collapsing. So the big change is we need to realize the hubris of this experiment and begin now to reconnect to a water planet, a blue planet in the universe.
정치인들은 여전히 그냥 경제 성장에 대한 얘기만 하고 있는 것 같아요. 이런 프레임을 좀 깨려면 어떻게 해야 되는지 조언 구합니다.
We think of capital, whether it's a capitalist or socialist country, as your intellectual property, your machines, the money you have in the bank. We think of finance capital, but in nature it's ecological capital. With no ecological capital, there's no life. we see in the first and second industrial revolution, we call it growth. In nature, there's no such thing as growth. There's only flourishing. We use the word productivity. There's no such thing as productivity in nature. It's regenerativity. Nature regenerates. We talk about efficiency. In nature, it's not efficiency, it's adaptivity. We talk about gross domestic product. In nature, it's quality of life indicators. It takes us from capitalism to hydroism. Well, next year, the G7 countries just announced next year, their primary issue in the G7 will be water. The Blue Deal. All the industries are saying we need a Blue Deal to go with the Green Deal.
감사합니다. 혹시 마지막으로 한국 시청자들에게 마지막으로 혹시 또 해주고 싶으신 얘기가 있으신지 궁금합니다.
We do globalization, the kids are thinking globalization. We talk geopolitics, the young people are talking biosphere politics. What I'm saying here is that these changes are all around us, but we're so paralyzed by the moment and the crisis. It's an older generation in political office, an older generation in industry, an older generation in the universities. We need a younger generation, the Gen Zs, the millennials, and this is where I have some hope. This is the first time an entire generation of young people, Gen Zs, young millennials, have gone out on the street and they see themselves as an endangered species. Is we need politicians of a younger generation. We need the younger generation coming into power, the 20-year-olds, the 30-year-olds, because they're growing up in this new frame of reference about living in a water planet, a planet Aqua. So you need AI so that they can all work together in a distributed fashion, locally, bioregionally, and globally, all right? Where you're not going to be using AI is in chatbots. There's not enough water chips in order to have chatbots, AI, whatever, right? Every chip that we produce requires 8 gallons of pure water. You know how many chips we produced last year in the world? 1.3 trillion chips, each one 8 gallons of water. So we need AI and we need the water to make sure this smart distributed infrastructure that's more bioregional rather than geopolitical can manage itself. And there'll be some limited use for it in other purposes, but this is something you would think that the giants in the industry would understand what I'm talking about here.
저희 이 SBS D 포럼이 올해로 20주년을 맞았는데요. 혹시 좀 축하의 메시지를 전해주실 수 있는지 궁금합니다.
You are already doing the kinds of things we need to see done elsewhere, so I do congratulate you on being able to have these very important conversations over these years. Let's stay in touch. Let's make sure that Planet Aqua becomes the new branding of this Earth. We can still call it Earth, but my wish is that countries all over the world will have a second official name.
지금 미래를 위해서 우리가 지금부터 고민해야 되는 게 있다면 무엇이 있는지 다시 한 번만 좀 보여주셨으면 좋겠습니다.
It's this. Everyone in Korea, all the generations today, start thinking of Korea as part of Planet Aqua. I'm hopeful because of Korea. You have shown the world that a small country can do big things, not only economic, but cultural and educational. So what I'm saying is roll up our sleeves, whether you're a parent, a student, a professor, a CEO of a big company, a local politician, and start to think culturally that we live on planet Aqua. The most important thing is that we are able as a species to learn how to live as a life source, not a resource. Not difficult to understand, but it's a complete change in how we feel about the planet we live in. I'm hoping Korea will lead this change.
네, 감사합니다. SDF 20년의 기록 미래를 본 사람들 제레미 리프킨 박사님과 함께했습니다. 지금까지 같이 해주셔서 너무 감사합니다.